Outdoors with the Morgans. Please excuse my voice. I have a bit of a cold. So does Melissa as well. Hunter, he's like bulletproof. He feels fine. Actually, we all feel okay. It's just our voice is screwed up, a little bit of a cough. But it is the first day of deer season here in Pennsylvania. And I was thinking this morning, this will be my 45th year of heading to the woods on the first day of deer season. It's just something we do here, but so much has changed over the years. It's really not that big a deal anymore. And what I mean is this, 15, 20 years ago, every little restaurant would be packed with hunters at 5 o'clock in the morning. People would gather. I remember we used to go down to my dad's place, and right here on our property and my mom and dad's property, we'd probably have 7 or 8 guys on the first day of deer season. This year, it's just me. And that's okay. And what happened is, a lot of people kind of lost interest in hunting, but for the guys that do like to still hunt, they spread the season way out. So in other words, a lot of guys archery hunt, myself included, and it starts so much earlier. We enjoy the flintlock season, which is after Christmas, and the whole thing just kind of got spread out, and there's a lot less people in the woods at any given time. So it's all different. The deer here are just about the same as they've always been. Years ago, they imposed a antler restriction where they have to have 3 up on one side, not counting the brow tine. I don't know what the logic is in that. It's pretty much the same as when I was a kid here. There's a bunch of little ones around, and every year there's 1 or 2 nice ones. So we haven't seen any big benefits from it in our area. And I think it may actually hurt a little bit because archery season starts long before the rut starts. And nobody in archery season is going to shoot a small buck when they've got months of hunting ahead of them. So the only bucks that are taken early are the nice mature bucks with the good genes, the big ones, and then they don't have a chance to breed because they're taken before the rut. So I don't think it's working, but it is what it is. You just have to kind of deal with it. But yeah, 45 years. It's unbelievable. And I've got a lot of buck here over the years, and I still enjoy doing it. Although like today, I'm going to go out for a couple hours, then probably cut some wood, do some other things, go back out this evening. Years ago, there was none of that. I mean, you went out, you'd be in your stand an hour before daylight, and you would stay in the woods until it was pitch dark that night. And it was just constant action all day long. I do like it now because the deer aren't pressured at all. When I was a kid, you would just see trains of deer because they'd get all bunched up and they'd just be running. And usually the last one was a buck. Might be a little one, might be the 1 or 2 of the big ones. But you'd see 15 or 18 at a time in a train just going by. But on our property, and my mom and dad's, like I said, there'd be a hunter at the top of every hill and the bottom of every valley. And now it'll just be me out there today. So like I said, everything changes. I still enjoy hunting. And to be honest, though, I like hunting in West Virginia more than I do here now. I don't know why. You see more deer down there. I don't know what it is. It's just quieter there. There's places out here, if the wind's blowing right, you can still hear road noise and things like that. But it's just different down there. I don't know what it is. I like hunting in West Virginia a little bit better. Matter of fact, first of next week, I may go down there with a buddy of mine. I have 2 friends that I hunt with. On the first day, my one buddy, he hunts a couple miles from here. And his brother, Paul, he actually lives in Texas, so he won't be here this year. But yeah, it'll just be me. Last night, I saw a nice one. I mean, just out the road, about 3 miles, in the middle of all the housing plans, right before dark. And this thing was a monster. For Western Pennsylvania, it was a big buck. But that's what happens around here. You've got the housing plans, and little tiny patches of woods, and those deer, they just stay in there, and they have, they just eat everybody's shrubs and all that stuff, and they're right back, bed down, come back out at night. But there's some big bucks out there, different than right here, which is only a couple miles from here. Now, during the rut, you could get a buck like that will come wandering into here. I mean, those things will go for miles looking for a doe, but we just don't see them here that often. One more thing I want to mention before I head out in the woods, we have fire starter available, and we're doing something a little different for Christmas. We have noticed that a lot of people have been buying it, small bags, the 1.75, which you can start 25 to 30 fires at least out of one bag. But they're sending them to friends or family like in other states. So we thought for Christmas, we're gonna do a one-time kind of little sale. This will be the only sale of the year. But we're gonna do 3 bags for $33. And there will be a link in the description. It makes a nice Christmas gift for anybody with a wood stove, fireplace, outdoor fire pit. And if they don't watch our channel and they're not familiar with the product, there's a QR code on it where they can scan and they'll know how to use it. It's very simple and it works fantastic. So 3 for $33. That's just kind of a little Christmas special. And they're 3 of the 1.75 pound bags plus shipping. So I think that's about it. I'll put a link in the description for that, and I'll pin a comment as well. But I'm going to put my boots and my coat on. I'm going to walk out to the mini cabin this morning. I'm going to wait till it's almost daylight so I can kind of see a little bit what's going on the way out. And then I'll report back from the mini cabin. We'll see what happens.
Well, it's been a pretty quiet morning so far. About an hour ago, I saw a coyote over towards the house. It's about 150 yards out, moving real fast. Then out this window, there's a couple doe over on that ridge over there. I just saw one of them flick their tail, so I was watching them for a while, and they both laid down over there. It's about 200 yards out. There may be more with them, but it's pretty hard to see that far through all the trees.
All right, just got back over to the building here. It's about 11 a.m., and boy, does it feel good standing in front of this stove. It wasn't extremely cold or anything like that, but 28 degrees just sitting there. I'm telling you, the older you get, the colder you get. Right now, I'm going to hop in the SideKick, and we're going to take a ride. We're going to go over to the far hill there above my mom's place. Just see if anybody's around. I'm not even taking a rifle with me or anything. And I haven't been over there for a while. So we're going to take a quick ride. And we're going to come back here. I need to bring a basket of wood up here to the building. And we'll see what else we get into. Gonna warm up the skid loader. We should be back in about 5 minutes. We'll probably see the biggest buck of my life here. Just going for a ride. The pond got a thin layer of ice on it. Very thin. Yeah, when I was a kid, there would be hunters everywhere. Don't see any orange anywhere. over here for a long time. I think what's happening here is there's not many hunters out. I mean, I heard a little bit of shooting, not much, and it's just enough to make the deer a little bit skittish, but not enough hunters to, you know, move them around. So like this couple doe I saw this morning, you know, they're just gonna lay down for the day. They'll come out this evening. It's usually how it works when they get a little nervous. We're heading down towards my mom's now. Straight ahead there, I don't know if you can see, its neighbors have a real big horse barn over there. That building's huge. Probably 60 by 120 or something. All right, we'll take a run up my sister's driveway and then back up to the house. There's always deer lay right in this little patch of woods here to my right. If I was going slower and paying attention, you'd probably see something. All right, so we went around the partial loop. Didn't see any hunters and no deer. It's just so different. So different than it used to be. All right, back at the skid loader. We're gonna grab a basket of firewood. I have plenty of wood, I think, in the woodshed for this winter, but I'm gonna start working out of one basket just to be safe. I'd hate to run out of wood with all the wood that we cut. All right, got a basket up here by the building. Normally I'll take one of these and set it in the garage, but I think what I'm going to do is just stack some of this right here on the patio out of the weather. Pretty close to the wood stove that way. So it is an absolutely beautiful day, and to be honest, I haven't done much since we last spoke, but I'm getting ready to head back out in the woods now for the afternoon. Melissa wasn't around, so me and the hunt man were just kind of hanging out today. I want to show you what I'm using here. I got a good story about this. This is a Browning X-Bolt 300 Win Mag, and it currently has a Leupold 3x15. That's the VR5. A very nice scope, a very nice rifle. This has the muzzle brake on it. Recoil, I'm telling you, it's amazing. It's probably the same, I don't know, as my 308. It's not bad at all. Now, it's loud, don't get me wrong, but I really like this rifle, and I bought this specifically for an elk hunt in Colorado a couple years ago, and I was not successful on that hunt. However, I did not have this scope on it at the time, and here's why. When I bought that, I put this Vortex on there, and it's not a bad scope. It's really not. I have a pair of Vortex binoculars. I love them. This was not a real expensive scope, but before I left for that trip, I shot that rifle probably, I don't know, 40 times, and that's a 300 Win Mag. I practiced at different ranges from 100 to 300, and I had her dialed in. You know what I mean? I felt very confident with that rifle. Well, when we get to Colorado, we got there the day before the hunt, and we were going to do some scouting. But before we did that, they wanted us to shoot our rifles, and I'm all ready to go, right? That gun, like I said, I shot it a whole bunch. I have her dialed in. I'm feeling the utmost confident, and I get the gun out of the gun case. I throw it over my shoulder, and my sling was loose at the bottom. It came apart. And what had happened was, it was tight when I left, but after driving 2,000 miles across the country, it loosened up. When I threw it over my shoulder, it fell right off the shoulder. It wasn't loaded or anything, and it landed right on the Vortex scope. See that big gouge right there out of it? I was like, oh man, this is not good, right? So I shot it, and surprisingly, this was only off about 3 inches at 100 yards. And I had to shoot a few more times, and I got it dialed back in. But at that point, I couldn't see the crosshairs real well. I mean, you could see them, but not as good as when I dropped it on it, right? And I didn't even know until I got back that this end right here, the whole thing's kind of bent down just a little bit. I was shocked that I was able to get it, I don't know if you can see it that way or not. We'll stand it up, you can tell. Yeah, see how it's leaning that way? It's because this whole end of the scope is bent from dropping it right there. But like I said, I was shocked that, you know, it really wasn't that bad, and I was able to get it dialed back in. But I knew I needed to get a new scope, and I didn't really use this rifle for anything. And I thought, you know what, I really like the rifle. So I got that Leupold 3x15. So the way I see it, that is pretty much good for anything in North America. And I wanted to start using it a little bit because I like the optics on it so much. I can see really well through that scope. And I actually got a buck in West Virginia, small one, last week with that rifle. So I think I'm going to keep using it. I don't know if I'll go any more hunts out west. I'm not sure. It was fun. It was. And I had a good time. But I kind of feel like I'm hunting out west today, and I'll tell you why. When we went on that hunt in Colorado, we were way down in the southwestern corner of Colorado. Probably about 45 minutes from Moab, Utah, and we were hunting down in this big valley, and the elk would come down into the valley late afternoon, and they would leave real early in the morning. So you didn't really hunt during the day at all, which is kind of what I'm doing here now. I hunted 3 or 4 hours this morning, and then I came in, and I'm going to go back out this evening. It was the same way. But a funny story, I was a little confused, right? It's the first time I ever went out there, and you know, you're a couple thousand miles from home, you're ready to hunt, but they're like, there's literally no elk in the valley during the day, so there's no point going out. I'm like, okay, I get it. Well, day one, we come back in from hunting literally 9:30, maybe 9:45 in the morning, and we were staying in like this cabin or this little house, and they had a wood stove in there. Well, we'd get back in, and the other guys and the guides, they had a little satellite dish there. They'd put a Western on. They'd all sit in the couch around the fire, fall asleep. So day one, I stuck around camp there, and we weren't doing anything till like 3 in the afternoon. So you had like from 10 till 3, you know, like 5 hours of doing nothing. And if it's daylight, I got to be doing something. So day one, I tried watching an old Western or whatever, maybe tried to take a little nap, whatever. I was just kind of anxious to go back out. Well, day two, they're going to do the same thing again. And it was kind of funny because on day 3, one of the guides, he got up in the morning and he said, man, I didn't sleep at all last night. And another guy's like, yeah, I had trouble sleeping too. And I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, you slept the entire day yesterday, basically. I said, the body, you know, the human body can only sleep so much. And if you sleep 4 or 5 hours a day and then try to sleep all night, it's just not going to work, you know? And they couldn't believe that I would drive over to Moab. That's what I started doing. I'd go different places, sightseeing or something. And one guy said, it was all in good fun, you know. He's like, you're going to drive all the way to Moab? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do something. I'm not going to sit here and sleep all day. And but it was a good hunt. We saw some elk, but the day before the hunt, man, we saw a lot of nice ones. We did, but once that season started, it was a whole different story. We saw a bunch of little ones, but just nothing like the night before the season. I don't know much about hunting out there, but I know the one night was a full moon, and it just seemed as though the elk weren't coming into the valley until after dark, and they were leaving before it got light. You know, we saw a few here and there, and the ones that we did see were little, but I think that's what happened. It was just kind of an off year for that area, and we didn't do any good. Maybe someday I'll go back out somewhere. I don't know. I have a lot of fun just hunting around here, and now down in West Virginia. I've got a camera out by the mini cabin, and it's pointed right onto that field, and I got to thinking, I got a notification on my phone, and I'm like, oh man, if I see a big buck in that camera and I'm sitting over here at the house, but it was just a couple doe. And then I got several pictures from down in West Virginia. I've got some cell cameras down there. One of them's pretty funny. It looks like this little doe is trying to identify as a turkey or something. Let me show you. But I enjoy the cameras, I think, just as much as actually hunting. Every night before bed, you know, I'll scroll through the pictures from the day. Next morning when I wake up, I'll look through the ones from overnight. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. I mentioned before, I use the Spy Point ones. They work good. They've been a little quirky at times, nothing too bad. You know, a couple of times they weren't communicating. They weren't transmitting pictures. You just turn them off, turn them back on again. I didn't have to do anything crazy. No firmware upgrades or anything like that. But so far, so good. And they weren't real expensive. I think they're $99 a piece. And then it's $10 a month per camera for unlimited photos, which I had to get the unlimited ones. Down there in West Virginia, it's nothing to get 75 or even 100 pictures a day. Here, not so much, but down there I just find the sweet spot on where to put one, and it's going off all day long, all night long, and it's fun scrolling through the pictures. But anyway, I'm going to get suited up here and head back out to the mini cabin, sit till dark, and we'll just have to see how it goes. But I want to apologize for this video. All I've been doing is really rambling. I haven't done much else, but it's just been that kind of a week. As you probably know, we had our third grandchild this week. We're hunting in West Virginia earlier in the week, and just not a lot else going on. But it's been a great week with Thanksgiving, the new baby, all that stuff, and deer season, can't beat it. All right, I'm heading back out to the stand. We just saw a stray dog out here. Our dog saw it. I don't know whose it is or where it went, but that's not the best thing to have around when you're trying to deer hunt. Yeah, I just saw it out there. It looked like a chocolate lab with an orange collar on it. Ran right through the middle of the field. So like I was saying earlier, you know, everything changes, especially deer season here. Everything's different than it used to be. But I realized that even though everything changes, I pretty much stay the same. Just keep doing, you know, what I enjoy. And just keep acting the same way I always did. But there's no sense being real quiet coming out here because there's just a dog running around. I don't know where it is now.